just to let you know, I'm still burning, still feeling the burn, still Sanders, still Bernie or bust, with Jill Stein as a backup plan. Hey, you know, I live in Michigan, so Hillary already won according to the polls and all these people. I personally went to a Trump rally today, and I seen the enthusiasm behind the Trump people. I didn't go to the rally, I went to protest it, but what I seen there was kind of shocking. Everybody's crazy uncle showed up. The mega church emptied out. All the boardroom meetings ended, and they all went to the Trump rally. Go figure. So do you think anybody over there is going to legalize marijuana? If you think a Republican's ever going to legalize marijuana and make it something that's good, keep dreaming, because it's never going to happen. This clip is basically about Bernie Sanders' stance on drugs. Not really drugs, we're talking about marijuana here specifically. Because he recently tweeted some outright truth to the DEA after they decided to deschedule, to not deschedule marijuana, to just leave it there right next to heroin and meth. Alright, so Bernie Sanders has always been pro-legalized marijuana. He was a congressman before he was a senator. Before that, he was a mayor. Before that, he was just some college kid that looked like somebody that was pro-marijuana. If nothing else, the fights that I've seen him fight, even before he was a congressman, looked like he was on the side of anybody that was fighting the government on some oppressive, tyrannical bullshit like the drug war, or like the war on marijuana specifically, which targets minorities and can ruin the lives of anybody that it affects. So if you get caught with marijuana, even the smallest thing that can happen to you is going to be bad. So Bernie Sanders, Socialist Junior Senator, previously Representative, Vermont at large. Now, when it comes to, this is from ontheissues.org, take marijuana out of the controlled substance list. This was during a debate on ABC on December 19th, 2015. Now, I for my copy here, I deleted the Martin O'Malley and Hillary Clinton, and I don't even know who else is running. Somebody else might have been there, I don't know. But those two specifically said their piece and not impressive. So what did Bernie say on the question of take marijuana out of the Controlled Substance Act? And then, you know, when they got to him, they kind of like they already knew what he was going to say, so they were like, instead of just saying take marijuana out of the Controlled Substance Act, the question was what to do about drug addiction. Bernie says, today we have more people in jail than any other country on earth, 2.2 million people, predominantly African American and Hispanic. We are spending $80 billion a year locking up Americans. I think we need a major effort to come together and end institutional racism. We need major reforms of a broken criminal justice system. What does that mean? It means that we have to rethink the so-called war on drugs, which has destroyed the lives of millions of people, which is why I have taken marijuana out of the Controlled Substances Act, so that it will not be a federal crime. Sorry about those weird pauses. They kind of put periods where they shouldn't have been on this transcript. However, you heard what he said there. Let's move on. I want to try to make this quick. The number of heroin, okay, treat addiction as a disease, not a crime. That's specifically about heroin. I'm going to skip that. But that was also at the same debate. That was the same question. Now, in Nevada, in Las Vegas on October 13, there was another Democratic primary debate. And the question is, in Nevada, there will be a measure to legalize recreational marijuana on the 2016 ballot. If you're a Nevada resident, how would you vote? Is that supposed to be a gotcha question? Come on. Bernie says, I would vote yes because I am seeing too many lives being destroyed for nonviolent offenses. We have a criminal justice system that lets CEOs on Wall Street walk away, and yet we are imprisoning young people who are smoking marijuana. I think we have to think through this war on drugs, which has done an enormous amount of damage. Best answer ever to that question. Alright, what do we got here? Alright, now this is from the 2016 presidential campaign website, feeltheburn.org, under issues, which apparently, I don't know if they're citing when they got it, but it's September 5th, 2015. The war on drugs is a failed policy, treatment over punishment. Bernie believes the current prohibition of drug use, colloquially known as the war on drugs, collectively known as the war on drugs, is a failed policy. He co-sponsored a bill to reduce recidivism, allowing incarcerated offenders access to pharmacological drug treatment. Bernie has opposed expanding the war on drugs by voting no both on military border patrols to battle drugs and terrorism, and on plans to subject federal employees to random drug tests. Bernie recognizes that the war on drugs has not quelled the drug use epidemics facing this nation. He believes punishment doesn't help, but treatment does. Current state of the war on drugs, a failed policy that has served to increase unemployment, imprison nonviolent offenders, and unfairly target blacks and other minorities. Treatment for drug offenders, nonviolent offenders should not be incarcerated. Instead, they should be allowed to access affordable treatment to address their drug dependencies. Sorry again, this copy is terrible. Okay, and then from issues, what about medical marijuana? Answer, Bernie supports the medical use of marijuana and the rights of states to determine its legality. He co-sponsored the States' Rights to Medical Marijuana Act in 2001 and recreational pot. Answer, Bernie wants to learn more about the impact of recreational legalization that recreational legalization will have in states such as Colorado in order to determine whether or not he supports it. Vermont voted to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of marijuana, and I support that, Bernie is quoted as saying. And when I was mayor of Burlington, in a city with a large population, very few people were arrested for smoking marijuana. Our police had more important things to do. Has Bernie ever inhaled? Answer, Bernie has inhaled, but he wasn't a fan. Personally, quote, because I coughed a lot. I smoked marijuana twice. Didn't quite work for me. It's not my thing, but it's the thing of a whole lot of people. And then Bernie voted no on a military border patrol to battle drugs and terrorism, bill number HR 2586, back in September 25th, 2001. Amendment to set up a task force on counterterrorism and drug interdiction to allow military personnel to help patrol U.S. borders. Thank you for signing that. No, Bernie. Voted no on subjecting federal employees to random drug tests. I don't know, maybe we should make the senators and the governors that make these stupid laws, maybe we should give them drug tests, see what happens. Maybe just once. But it was called the Drug Demand Reduction Act. Vote on an amendment to require anyone hired by the federal government is subject to random, unannounced drug testing. I'm not for that, no matter who the employee is and who they work for, or vice versa, or anything. It's none of your business. Legalize medical marijuana. Bernie Sanders co-sponsored the States' Right to Medical Marijuana Act, and this is House resolution back in July 23rd, 2001. It is what it says. It's worded pretty nicely. Check it out sometime if you don't believe it. And then something that's dear to my heart. Sanders co-sponsored Industrial Hemp Farming Act. And then, of course, he signed the Industrial Hemp Farming Act. The House resolution came up on August 2nd, 2012. It amends the Controlled Substance Act to exclude industrial hemp from the definition of marijuana. It defines industrial hemp to mean the plant cannabis sativa in any part such of, whether grown or not, with delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol concentration of not more than 0.3% on dry weight basis. And it deems cannabis sativa L to meet the concentration limit if a person grows or processes it for purposes of making industrial hemp in accordance with state law. That's awesome, man. I mean, of course this thing eventually got attached to the agriculture bill, and the watered down version of it got passed. But in February 14th, 2013, when that happened, it was called the Industrial Hemp Farming Act, and it was kind of just a little rider slid into the actual farm bill. Amendments amends the Controlled Substance Act to exclude hemp from definition. Same thing as above, all that. Members of Congress, and this is Senator Ron Wyden. Members of Congress hear a lot about how dumb regulations are hurting the economic growth and job creation. The current ban on growing industrial hemp is hurting job creation in rural America and increasing our trade deficit. The bill will end this ridiculous regulation. Right now, the U.S. is importing over $10 million in hemp products. I think the number is more like 20 million in just raw hemp alone, so people can make hemp products here. Anyhow, a crop that U.S. farmers could be profitably growing right here at home, if not for government rules prohibiting it now. Alright, now even though hemp and marijuana come from the same species of plant, there are major differences between them. The Chihuahua and St. Bernard came from the same species too, but no one is going to confuse them. That's a weird counter argument, but let's see what the Drug Enforcement's opposition argument is. And it's a doozy. The DEA regulatory opposition to industrial hemp production is based upon the difficulty in distinguishing legitimate hemp and low narcotic concentration from illicit cannabis, and the perception that industrial hemp advocates have a hidden agenda of favoring legalization of marijuana. No, it ain't. We're just smart, and we know that if you start growing hemp, you no longer have to make all this stuff out of plastic. You can make ethanol out of hemp that leaves a zero carbon footprint. You give people shitloads of jobs growing hemp, producing hemp. You can build houses out of hemp. You can make roads out of hemp. You can do anything with hemp. Look it up. Do some research. This is not an information site. This is a news site. And DEA, here's some news. Hemp is a multi-billion-dollar industry. All things told, all things known about it. Just the textile industry alone probably has like a $30 million a year investment and about a $200 million a year return. These are just guesses out of the top of my head. They're probably way underestimated. So get with the program, DEA. Come on. The DEA ban on THC and hemp food products, though characterized as a drug war issue, is in fact a food safety issue. No state or county has scientifically established the safety of food products made from hemp. So much wrong with that. But you can go walk up to you can make bags of granola and sell that on the corner of farmer's market. No one's going to say anything. Smoking hemp/marijuana with low THC level of 0.25% could result in psychological effects if inexperienced users, children for example, and others, always the children. Man, these days, your efforts to ban legitimate marijuana, you know what the kids are doing now? They're smoking fake marijuana. And that shit is poison. That is like some kind of weird chemist that is just sadistically wants to ruin people's brains. Cooks it up and bakes it into some herbs, so you smoke that, and then any number of effects could happen. None of them medicinal, none of them marijuana. Always bad. You can read headlines about it. K12, K2 spice, all that crap. We've seen it. Michigan has made laws against it. Other states have followed. Alright, finally, the DEA's opposition. Actually, this isn't the DEA. The last two, the DEA ban on the food products and smoking hemp with low THC can still get you high. Those two were made by drugwatch.org. right around the same time that the DEA made their little statement. Finally, their last argument against industrial hemp is supporting industrial hemp marijuana sends an ambivalent and harmful message to youth and others regarding marijuana. That it's okay. If you send them that message, then as long as it's okay, it's okay. It's not a bad message to send. But if you keep arresting people, obviously you can't send them that message because they might get caught up in a drug case. Alright, well that was my second clip for the day. I'm going to end it by saying, again, Bernie Sanders was the number one guy. He was the number one person. He was the number one candidate, not just in 2016, but in my lifetime. I'm 44 years old. Bernie Sanders is the best candidate in my lifetime for marijuana. He's the only candidate that ran for president in my memory, and I know it's a fact, that actually said legalize marijuana. He said take it off a schedule, take it out of the Controlled Substance Act altogether, on debate stages, stump speeches, on his website for his platform. Unlike a lot of candidates, you go to their website to look for their positions on issues, and you get a bunch of sidetracky rigmarole, like typical politician, like crap. It doesn't help you. You go to Bernie Sanders' website, and the policies are clear. They're solid. You see them. They're right there, and you can relate to them. And if you're wondering how they got paid for it, that's there too. But anyway, back to marijuana. He was the only guy that ever ran for president that would have legalized marijuana. Probably would have been something he done right off the bat. I mean, a president can't just like flip a button, go into the White House, and it's just a bunch of buttons on a panel. One of them's marijuana being illegal, and it's just like a up or down, like flip it. Presidents don't do that, but a guy like Bernie Sanders behind the wheel, it was going to happen, and it was going to happen soon. And with the DEA still trying to make their case for making arrests, making their push, like, hey, guess what, we're still going to do this. He would have pushed right back just like he did, but if he was president, he could continue to push back. All right, that is it. Feel the burn. Keep burning. Keep the revolution alive.